Hey everyone, welcome to Sports Voice, Veteran Sports Voice podcast, platform designed and built for by veterans, and we are sports spoken by those who served. I'm Sean, also known as Coach Pops, and on this show we talk with athletes, coaches, and leaders who are shaping the future of sports, both on and off the field. And today, my guest checks all those boxes. Former Appalachian State standout and founder of MegRem Softball, MEGAN REMBIELAK. From growing up around a D1 coach to building one of the most respected youth softball development platforms in the country, her journey is full of lessons in leadership development and building the next generation. So let's get with it. First off, Megan, thank you so much and welcome to our show. I so much appreciate you being here today. So tell us a little bit about you. What's going on? How's life treating you?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I'm pumped to be here. Life is it's crazy right now. I have a almost 2-year-old and a 3-month-old, and the transition to 2 has been a lot, on top of trying to run a business, about to launch another business. It's all great stuff, but it's just there's so many moving parts that I'm like, sometimes my brain's like all over the place, but life is good. I cannot complain.
Well, I hear you there. We have our stepdaughter is here, and our grandbaby, who is about to turn 2 next month, is here. And those terrible 2s, ooh, they showed up. They showed up early last night. So
it's funny because for the most part, my almost 2-year-old she's just at such a fun age, which I know I'm sure you see with your granddaughter. But they have their moments. Is right now the 3-month-old is kicking my behind with sleep and all the things. So right now, honestly, the 2-year-old's good. Almost 2-year-old's good.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad that happened. And you know what? You had that 3-month. Congratulations on a new child. So thank you. And look, for everybody that's out there watching. So I want to tell how I found you. So last summer, I'm Coach Pops. I went back to school at 48 years of age. Got a kinesiology degree, and I was a student assistant at the University of Arkansas for football. So I played sports growing up, played football. Well, I kind of got out of the coaching when NIL I didn't want to do anything. So I moved to Oregon. That's where I'm at. My daughter lives here. I work for Intel, and I got into volunteer coaching, and I absolutely love it with the faith-based organization. Last summer, I was told, hey, we need a softball coach. And I'm like, oh, well, I know how to coach baseball, but these are girls. So I went to looking, and I was fortunate. I had a one-day clinic first, and then we had a week-long deal. And so I started scouring the internet and YouTube, and I found you. And first of all, I want to say your videos make it so easy. It's direct to the point. You give great demonstrations. And you even use the same cones we use, so it was amazing. So it was probably, I had these girls from 10 years of age to 14, and I can't tell you how many of them said, man, those drills were so much fun, Coach. It was amazing, Megan. And so if there's a coach out there it's in softball, wanting to think about coach softball, or was like me, lost, didn't know exactly how to do this and how to handle young ladies coach, go to MegRem Softball on YouTube and check some of her videos. They're amazing. So that's how I found you. And so with this podcast and with the College Sports Crew platform that I'm with, we want to do everything college sports. And one of the fastest and biggest growing sports is softball, and D1 softball is getting so huge, and especially for the SEC. And so I said, you know what? I know someone. Let me try. And I hit you up on an email, and you hit me back, and thank you. And so when you said yes, I started going, you know what made Meg REMBIELAK do this? And then I go looking, and I'm like, oh, well, her dad's a D1 coach, so was a former D1 coach. So I'm going to assume that's how you got into smacking the ball around and fielding and doing what you do. Tell me a little bit about how you got into softball.
Yeah. So my dad, when I before I was born was coaching baseball. And so I was just always around the field. And my parents started me in T-ball at like 5. And since then I had a love of the game. I think the biggest thing, yes, my dad was a coach. So, and I've talked about this before a couple times, like a lot of people kind of assume, oh, you worked with your dad 24/7. And don't get me wrong, I worked with him. But he was very busy with, recruiting and having his guys. Where I really kind of fell in love with the game was being at the field, just watching the games. I grew up watching, and I still do, Cleveland Indians. And because at the time softball was not on TV, and if it was like once every couple of years, what seemed like. So yeah, just being around the game and falling in love with it. And so I never actually played baseball. I played T-ball, which was co-ed, if you can even call it that. And then I think I went right into like Little League when I was, I guess 8, 9, and then just kept playing since then.
Now, when you said you went into Little League, was that softball or was that baseball?
Softball. Yeah. So I never played baseball.
Okay. I never played baseball. So let me ask you, what is your earliest memory of being around your dad's teams or coaching? Was there something that goes, you said you fell in love with the field and everything, but
yeah,
when did you know it had grabbed you?
Honestly, that's a great question. It's like I don't know. It's like this sounds so silly, but like the smell, the area, like my sister and I would like play on, a certain area of the field when my brother was old enough, like we would be playing catch. It's just like, that, I don't even know how to explain it, that community feel. And then I think when I started to get older, because again, I used to watch MLB and I still do on TV. And just like, once I started to get an understanding of like, runner on first base, where are you throwing the ball if you get it, I started to like really, really love that. So I really contribute my softball IQ to watching games when I was younger without even like knowing anything about fundamentals yet.
Right. So the thing you said about smells, I
know it's weird, but it's so true.
No, it is. I remember the first year, like, look, I was 48 years old. I went and knocked on Coach Chad Morris's door at the University of Arkansas and asked if I kind of like, hey, can I do this? And I can't believe I didn't get thrown in jail, but he let me do it. But I remember walking on that practice field and that smell of grass, like, oh, this is a field of where athletes play sports. And I know you probably know what I'm talking about here. So
yeah, and when you're away from it, and you, like for me, having a baby postpartum, even before I had my daughter, I was away from the field. I just went back a couple weeks ago, and again, it's like the wildest feeling. But the smells, just being on dirt, I'm like, it does something to me.
It does. So now I have to ask you, grass or turf?
Grass. And the only reason, it's hard because softball, it's changing now, but I never played on turf. Turf was like not an option for softball. Now, actually, my App State, they just got a new field. They got turf. It's really hard going from dirt to turf because the bounces are crazy. Yes. So I think if I had to pick, I'd say dirt to keep that, keep it consistent.
And keep the temperature down.
Yeah, right.
So Megan, I got a question. So growing up around your dad, around those teams, now when you're coaching and you're running MegRem Softball, do you catch yourself using some of your dad's phrases or coaching in his style at all, or whose style of coaching do you go to? Like who do you, I guess, most closely relate to of all the different coaches you've been through, for App State all the way back to your, to your Little League?
So honestly, it's like a big mixture, that's why I think coaching is so awesome. Everyone has something different. What I get from my dad is the no nonsense mentality and I catch myself sometimes with youth kids. Like my biggest thing is effort, hustle, look me in the eyes when I'm talking. And I want you to pay attention. And I don't care what your age is. And it doesn't have to be like so strict, but I find myself too, when we're doing stations, girls are goofing around. I'm like a little too tough. And I'm like, okay, take a step back. Older girls, that's fine. But my dad had that kind of like old school mentality, a little tough. He's gotten softer in his old age. I will say my high school basketball coach, I know that's crazy, but basketball coach, we were 3-time state champ. He was like I think it was 9 state championships in a row. I loved his style of, I don't know if organization is the right word. Like he made us, if practices at 6 p.m., we had to be there at 5:45. And if we're a minute late from 5, or like we're past 5:45, you're running, even though you're early. He was not the type to yell. He was able to gain our respect by just like, I guess, his style. We knew he cared about us. He never had to yell, but he was one of my best coaches, and that wasn't even in my sport. So yeah, I've kind of just like taken a bunch of different things from coaches that I've had and made it my own.
Megan, I'm going to ask you a favor to say what you said a while ago that I thought was so important. What were your 3 things again?
Yep. So 100% effort, non-negotiable.
Yep.
Hustle. And when I'm speaking or a coach adult is speaking, you look him in the eye.
So kids or parents out here, that is something seriously, the whole looking in my eye. Oh, I totally get that. And you have to, and you're right. You do have to be careful. When I went into coaching and one of the things I did, I interned at Fayetteville High School in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which was their largest classification in the state, 7A for football. The defensive coordinator, Coach Kenneth Chick, I'll never get it. He goes, man, you got to be careful with these kids because nowadays they have so many other things they can go do. Like if they get mad at you, they can go play Xbox or and so as a coach, how do you work around that? How do you handle that?
Yeah. So especially at my clinics, I'm not really doing that many lessons anymore, but at my clinics, which I'm traveling all over the country, seeing different girls, I try my best in the beginning of the clinic to say, like, I give those three things that I expect. And, I try and preach, listen, I don't care your athletic ability. I really don't. Here, everyone can control their attitude, effort, paying attention, and hustling. As long as you're going all out, I will never get mad at you if you make a mistake. And I feel some coaches lose their girls because they are hard. And I'm not saying be soft, but they're hard, but they don't really give the why behind it. They're not it sounds so insane, but like encouraging the mess ups. Cause like when you encourage, like, hey, I want you to go all out. And if you make an error, okay, no big deal. But if you're going 80% and you make an error, that's when I'm going to get mad. And that's the zero tolerance that I have. So for the coaches who have teams, and it's not like me who's going around to clinics, but if you have a team, in the beginning of the season, before the first practice, you sit down the players and the parents together and you just set your expectations. And again, this is in conveying, yes, I want to produce stud softball players, but I also want to make them really good humans after softball. I want them to go to their job, and be on time and go above and beyond what their boss asks of them. And because again, all good things happen with all that.
Absolutely. I love it. I've said that a million times. I want you to be productive human beings after this game of whatever game I'm coaching that day there. So absolutely. I love that. I love your philosophy. I love that. So let's back up a little bit. So you were in Little League. Obviously you played basketball, state champion there. And was this if you don't mind me asking, was this in North Carolina?
North Carolina, yeah. So I moved from Ohio when I was a freshman. And so going into my sophomore year of high school, I moved to North Carolina and I was a athlete.
So tell me your journey of how you got to App State. Did you have choices other than App State? Tell us about that journey that you had, because I'm sure there are some young ladies out there right now and young men that are going through that journey. How did you navigate it?
Thankfully, I had my dad who was very knowledgeable about recruiting. If I didn't have him, it would be, I'm sure, very overwhelming. I'm actually doing an interview, like a Zoom chat with the App State coach tomorrow to talk recruiting, because it has changed so much since I've played.
Yes,
I graduated in 2012 from App State. Didn't have social media, but for me, if I can remember right, I was thankfully on a very good team with a coach who knew a lot of college softball, or with a coach who knew a lot of college coaches. And then I had my dad when we went on visits. He knew the right questions to ask, because me, as a 17-year-old, I'm like, oh, the campus looks nice, sure, but he's asking all the hard questions. And I actually got recruited. So a girl on my team who was playing, she was a catcher, third baseman. The app coach came to watch her, and her name was Katie. And Katie had mentioned to the coach, like, hey, you know, check out Meg, shortstop. And so she was there. The coach was watching Katie. She saw me, and I didn't sign until my senior year. So November of my senior year in high school. I had a couple other offers. They were full rides. And it just like when I went to go visit, great program, great coaches, but I don't know. It was like the vibe that I was feeling. I wanted schools that were really into sports. App had just won the national championship, beat Michigan. So yeah, it was just stepping on campus. I can't even explain it, but it was one of those things that I was like, this is it.
Right. So let me ask you a question then. So what are some of the right questions you need to ask as a 17-year-old?
Yeah. Obviously money is important, scholarships, playing time. And this is where it's hard because coaches can say all of these things and it not be true. But these are questions that, because again, I don't even remember the questions that my dad would ask. Cause in my head, I'm like, no, these don't matter. I'm anxious to ask the coach tomorrow because, again, things have changed. There's, whether it's social media, how girls are emailing, all that stuff. So in tournaments, camps were never a thing when I played, going to, like, let's say App State's putting on a camp. They didn't have that. Well, we might have, but I never went to them, and they weren't that popular.
Right. And, and let me ask you this. So since you're talking to that App State coach tomorrow, how does NIL affect recruiting now?
Oh, yeah. And softball is, well, it depends on your school. It's not affected too much, but they're definitely in the bigger schools. That obviously is a thing. Yeah, I know. I would love to know, because me personally, I'm very loyal as a coach. That would be tough when you're putting all this work and effort into a girl and they're like getting money elsewhere. I'm out. But yeah. I definitely see the athlete side too. Cause if you're getting, let's say, $500,000 to go to another school, that's hard to say no as an 18-year-old.
Absolutely. It is. It is. And hopefully the NCAA will clean some of this up to make this a little bit even playing field. So yes. When you were at App State, so first off, you hold a lot of records, and you're like second place in a lot of those records at App State. And I'd love to know who the first place was, because some of your records are insane. But when you got to App State, what was your biggest, I guess, hey, welcome to D1 softball moment? What was the wake up call for you?
Honestly, playing, I'm pretty sure my first game, we played Florida State. And I don't even know if they were ranked. They were just, ACC, and I just the size difference. So I'm 5'4". At the time, I was maybe 115 pounds, which is very average for mid-major. But when you're playing these bigger schools, these girls are towering over you. And so as a shortstop, you got these tall, big girls coming up, like ready to rake. I'm kind of like, okay. So yeah, I just, honestly, the size difference, it wasn't even necessarily the pitching. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm blown away. It was just more of the like, all right, defense better step it up.
You know what? And I'm glad you brought up pitching, because this was a question I had, and I was like, you know what? And I hope you know the answer to this. So, because I saw one time, and I saw this on TV, and I think it was Jenny Finch. She was pitching, and Albert Pujols was going, and after he was going to step in the box and take a swing, after he saw her pitch one time, he's like, no. So when you're in that, and it's a shorter distance from the mound to but what is the equivalent? Like some of these pitchers that throw the hardest here, what is the equivalent on the MLB level of speed that they're looking at? These young ladies are.
Yeah, I think it's between 90 to 100. So average, and I could be off with this, like the exact number, but like the average D1 pitcher, I think, is between like 62 to 65 maybe. And obviously you got the bigger schools, like Nigeria Kennedy, she's 70 something. You got a lot of girls who are throwing 70 now. That really wasn't like a huge thing when I was playing. But I think it's equivalent, like 65 and up, I think is like 100 miles an hour.
And
in
see, and
baseball.
people, and that's a small distance between,
Yeah,
that's not the same to, yeah. So you got to
40-50.
have some quick, yeah, you got to have some quick, you got a quick bat there for that. So,
Yep.
at what point in college there on the playing field, when did you go, okay, you know what, I belong here, because I know, because everybody has that doubt when they go that
Yeah.
little doubt, when did you know what, I got this, I'm going to be all right.
Honestly, it was so preseason. I was still because I knew going in, I'm a very competitive person. I knew like nothing's going to be handed to me. And again, having my dad who kind of instilled that in having players himself, he was always reminded like you got to work for what you want. So I knew going into app, I really had to work my butt off in the fall. Once my coach, my like in regular season, I'm pretty sure I started I think I was number 2 in the lineup and started me at short. That's when I kind of was like, okay, like if coach has all this trust in me, like I definitely belong here. That's not to say there were times where, doubt would creep in when I'm going 0 for 3. And I mean, that's obviously human nature. But I think having my coach trust in my abilities, it gave me that confidence.
So going through, and we all have these teams, like, and I know, like, and I use it. I've asked this question to every athlete I've ever had on here, and for me, it was in high school. What team? But so at college, what team was the team you're like, damn, I have to face this team again? Like, what was that team that was like that thorn in your side, or did you have a team like that?
Yeah, in our conference. So at the time, App was in the SoCon, and
Right.
Chattanooga was just powerhouse. Them and Georgia Southern, but Chattanooga they always kind of whooped our butts.
Okay. So during your college career, which part of your game that you think improved most, and how, physically or mentally?
So defense has always been my game. I just have always had a great softball IQ, which I try and this is one of the reasons I started MegRem Softball is there's so much more to the game than having a great swing or having soft hands. Like knowing the game is just as important as the fundamentals, which is not worked on enough, and I don't know if it's because coaches aren't sure or they just don't think it's important, but that softball IQ makes a huge difference. So defense has always been my game. I actually pretty much taught myself how to slap. And so wild enough, I started slapping. I started to learn slapping at 17 before I was getting recruited because I was never a power hitter. I was more contact. Again, I'm known for my defense, and that's where I truly believe I was recruited or why I was recruited. So I was learning how to slap. And then in college for my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, I did both right side hitting and left side slapping, which I do not recommend that. No one really told me, hey, focus on one side. If anything, if I could go back, I would learn how to slap and I would stay on the left side and learn how to stand in on the left side. That way defense has no idea how to play you. But I was very good at placing the ball. And again, I honestly taught myself, and my two teammates who are now like my best friends, they were slappers, and I would literally like watch them pick their brain and they would help me. So my senior year, I decided forget the right side. I'm just going to stay on the left side. And that was by far my best year average wise. And just, I mean, hits average, I was all conference, all the things.
I'm fixing to say, if I'm not mistaken, what rank are you in for hits all time for there?
It might be because those stats were from I think 2 years ago. I think I might be 3 because I think
Okay.
she was a stud. She graduated 2 years ago. I think she took the number 2 spot or 1.
Well, I think you're still number 2. The last I looked, but there was that. So you still might be number 2 there.
Okay.
But so someone who taught slap, because slapping is an art. I see that. I don't know how they do it. It's an art form there. So and this is probably going to lead us into the next question here, into your transition from player, but from App State, what lessons from App State shaped you as the coach you are today? And then when your playing career ended, was the transition tough, or did you already know, hey, I'm going to start MegRem Softball?
Yeah. So what I learned from App is what to do and what not to do. And I was kind of leave it at that. And it kind of going back to coaching, you take bits and pieces from coaches and you make it your own. And I had some struggles at App and in the end in my junior and senior year, but I was able to kind of rally and crush it my senior year. And so after college, I had zero plans to stay in softball. I loved it. And I loved baseball. I kind of thought maybe I want to do sports marketing and like with an MLB team. I didn't really know. And someone asked me to help with a high school team. So I was doing it there. And I kind of, at the time was like, God, it's like we talk about, you walk on the field, the smells, it just brings you back to your why. And so I helped with the softball team. I had moved here and there. And then when I came back to Charlotte, North Carolina, random how it all happened, but I had a girl who ran a facility in Charlotte was like, hey, I'm doing a defensive camp. One of my girls backed out. Someone had mentioned your name. Can you help for the day? And I'm like, sure, I miss softball. That led to doing lessons, eventually full time. And then as I was doing lessons, I was posting videos for the facility's Instagram page, and they were doing well. And my now husband, so boyfriend at the time, but he was like, why don't you just post to YouTube? And so you can make a couple extra bucks. And I did notice, I recognized there was a big need for more softball drills because at the time there was not a lot. So this is 2020 or 2019, end of 2019. There was not a lot of softball instruction or someone who played softball. And if there was, it was old. So I'm like, yeah, why not? And I want to do more. And the questions I was getting at lessons from parents and girls was just like really sparking some ideas. So I did that and it just took off. People were loving the videos. They were asking me to come travel to do clinics. And I was like, sure. And then that led to MegRem, that led to making it a full-time business.
Right. When did you know when did like you said, you got into this kind of by accident, it sounds like.
Yeah.
When did you know you found that you love teaching this? You found a love here, like when did you have a eureka moment that I love this?
Yeah, I can't remember one specific moment, but I do know going to travel my first couple clinics, the thought of like someone reaching out to me, asking me to travel to a different state to teach their girls, I was just like so flattered because I always, it's like I know my content's good, but to have other people like really like it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I see I'm helping a coach like Coach Pops who maybe hasn't been in the softball world before, not very confident, needs a little bit of extra guidance. Like I was that person for them. And so after a couple clinics, again, was posting about it. And then more people were reaching out. Hey, I see you're traveling to Boston. Will you come to Oklahoma? And I'm like, sure.
I love that. And you said something earlier. And so the first time I got into this, it was last summer and I was asked to do a clinic, help out with a clinic. And they gave me, I was like, here, I'll help out. And I'm thinking, I'll set some stuff up, whatever. No, you got a group of girls. You're going to be on this station over here. And so I'm in Oregon. I'm in Hillsboro, Oregon, about 30 minutes west of Portland. And it also was about 100 degrees that day, which that is very rare. And we were on one of those turf fields. Oh. And so I found the shade of the scoreboard, and that's where our young ladies, we set up. And look, Megan, I had no idea. I'm like, and you said something, and I was like, oh, good. I'm so glad. Like, so I said, everybody take your gloves off. We started working soft hands, and that's what I started. And that's what we did because it was too hot to do anything else because they were doing all the running and stuff at all the other stations. I'm just like, stay here. I'm going to do this. Soft hands, come up, throw. And so we did. And you're right. Coach Pops needed help. And I knew that after that clinic when they're like, hey, you did so great. We want you here for the camp next week. And I'm like, oh no. So,
what did I get myself into?
Yeah. Well, and then that's when I found you and it was great. So I highly recommend your videos to everybody.
And that truly is like, even from 2019 to 2026, softball has grown so much in those years. And so there's more girls wanting to play. Again, parents are, we need volunteers to coach. They're like, yeah, I want to, but I don't know what I'm doing. So my goal is to obviously help the athlete. I want to give them all the confidence in the world. I want to teach them the game, but I also want to give it to the coaches and the parents to be like, hey, you can do this. Like, yeah, are we all gonna, and I coach travel too. Like, we're all gonna make really silly mistakes and regret some things we said, been there, done that. But every season you're gonna learn more and more, watch games, you're gonna learn from other coaches. And and as long as you're, again, lifting the girls up, teaching them a couple things here and there, it'll all fall into place.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because you grew up on with watching your dad's practice, and this is one thing I saw. It seemed to me like, because at the same time, so the organization I was with, they also had a baseball clinic going on with the boys, and and girls too. You had your girls that were the social media stars, I guess, that wanted to be or whatever, but there seemed like there was so many more egos with the boys, and the girls seemed more hungry to me to learn.
Yeah.
Is that true? Or did I just see something that wasn't there?
No, I do. I think it is true, being around a lot of guys and, coaching girls. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think boys, just younger boys, just are just like, that frontal lobe hasn't shut yet, and they're just kind of all over the place. So I think it's more of just like maturity. But I do think, yeah, I think softball girls are hungry, and that's where it's like my job, or I'm trying to, on top of my content and everything else, like I'm trying to I don't even, convince isn't the right word, but get these other, let's say, companies and, hyping up softball a little bit more, because the girls are there, the parents are there, the coaches are there. We need more people on board just to help with development, to help with equipment, all that stuff.
Well, I'll make a promise with you on this. If you will help us get our platform out, because we're going to do a Division I. We're going to do a college softball program, and I love it, because I'm a firm believer. If you got kids involved in sports, they're going to be less involved in something else they don't need to be.
Yep.
And so we will. You're a friend of this podcast. If you ever need to come on and do that, you're very welcome. And if you'll help us, we will. I promise you, we're going to help you anyway. But if we could get some of your subscribers, oh my God, that'd be amazing. Yeah, but we are definitely going to do that. We will do our part to get people pointed in your direction, because I think what you do is amazing. And so, how did you transition what you were doing local to a brand now that, I mean, you got, I think, 125,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel the last time I looked. So you've built something since 2019, you said, to now. Yeah. I mean, that's not local anymore, and that's a national brand. And kudos on you. I mean, hell of a job. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been it's one of those things. It's wild. It's not like, and I don't want to say I have not put in hard work, because I've put in a lot of work, but it's one of those, I'm doing. These videos are just things I'm recognizing. So it's not like I'm like, okay, let me sit down. And not, sometimes I'll do this, but I'm not like, okay, I need to do this and I need to do this. I'm like, oh, I'm watching a college softball game and I saw maybe the first baseman wasn't in the right spot for a cutoff. That's a great video idea. So I'm going to go do it. Or I'll be at a clinic, I'll hear something and I'm like, great video idea. And so my goal is to touch on everything in the game, not just drills, not just posting drills with music in the background and coaches trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. Having that YouTube where I'm breaking it down. You can listen if you want. If not, you can just watch the drill. But really breaking it down in the end, it's just helpful to the parents, coaches, players. And it's just, everything has just happened organically. But the clinics has happened organically, followers. And I feel like I've done a very good job at creating, I say loyal followers. I just feel like a lot of all my followers are baseball, softball. It's not, they're in it to watch my drills. And I feel like I've really, done a good job at having them trust me. Everything, for the most part, everything that I put out, whether it's equipment, drills, whatever, they trust in me, which I will never take that for granted.
No, absolutely. I like a lot of your videos, they touch on that situational awareness, and I love that. And so so and that was the one thing that I could, hey, like I remember one of the videos we worked on was the drop step, right? Was
Mhm.
one of the drop, and one of the ones you had, and 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 I used that, and also for situational awareness, and how it came in handy, and the girls just ate that up. And
Yeah.
so you do, yeah, you do amazing with that, and keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, so with that being said, tell us about MegRem Softball. Tell us, if you have anything upcoming here before before we go. Well, because I know you're on a time here, and you have been amazing, just an amazing guest. Tell us what you got going on in the future for MegRem Softball, and where you're going to be, what you got going on.
Yeah, so right now I have I'm kind of keeping everything the same. I'm doing my content. Content will never go away. I'm still traveling. I'm not doing as many clinics this year, just with 202 is a lot to juggle. But my goal is to try and hit one area a month. So next weekend, I'm going to Illinois for 4 clinics. 2 weekends after that, I'm going to Iowa, doing 3 clinics. And I'm actually doing a coach's clinic with another softball instructor, Morgan Stewart. And then so that was February. So March, April, I'm still trying to figure out. But yeah, every month I'm trying to do one travel trip a month. And then I am starting a new business or launching a new business and hopefully the beginning of April. I can't give too much information on that yet because I want to make sure everything is lined up before I announce it. But I am very excited about this. Has been about 3 years in the making, and I've got the right team of people to help guide me and just kind of help get this to where it needs to be. And I think it's gonna really, really help the game and help the girls. And it's very softball specific focused. So this is specifically for softball players, not baseball and then softball. This is for the female softball player. So I'm very pumped about that. And then, yeah, I want to keep growing. I want to keep finding more girls to help and keep this game growing.
I love it. And so, so if we want to get you in the Pacific Northwest, how do we go about doing that? How does that happen? And I'm sure there's a cost involved and all that, which that they'll discuss with you later. But and then also too, with that program, your new venture that you're starting, uh, I would love to invite you on when it does become final to please come on the show and share it with us and let us
Yes.
help you get it out.
Yes. So with clinics, I just have people email me, hey, I want you to come here, and I will tell them. So normally if I'm going all the way over there, I would ask for 3 to 4 clinics, whether that's private. If you can't if you can't fill that many clinics, which 4 is a lot, I would just ask, hey, can you help me find a field and helpers? And I would open it to the public. And then that way, and just a couple of pieces of equipment. And I deal with everything else. I pay for all my expenses and I factor those expenses into the price per girl. And again, I try my best to keep it reasonable. I'm not out here trying to break the bank for anyone because I know how expensive life is. So that's why I try and get 3 to 4 clinics and a travel trip. So that way it just makes sense. I keep the cost down. So yeah, email me, and I do have a wait list. I know some people are getting frustrated, and I'm trying to, do my best, but it's one of those, the amount of requests I have, I'd be traveling every day. And obviously I can't do that with a small, my young family. So I'm telling people right now in the next 6 months, I'm picking locations that are easy to travel to. So ideally a straight shot, and to where I can get home before bedtime on Sunday.
I got you. Now, are you located? I think you told me your husband works for the Marlins. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume you're in Florida. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm located in West Palm Beach, Florida.
So wherever direct from West Palm Beach to wherever, that's where you're trying to go
Right.
there.
Which is funny. So West Palm is such a tiny airport that most locations are a layover, but I'll usually, because my husband travels a lot for work too, I'll take my girls to my in-laws that are in Miami and I'll fly out of Miami. And so Miami is a little bit easier, straight shots there. A lot of logistics going on.
I got you. I got you. So I had a question here for you. So with what was I going to ask? Now I just totally drew a blank there. So you do you do the national thing. You travel and do that. So I'm literally stuttering here because I just lost my question,
Oh, is it a
Megan.
good
I'm
one
so
about
sorry.
travel or
It
clinics?
was it was probably a great question, and I probably just messed it up. But so how do you plan? Here's a question for you with MegRem Softball. We're at this point here. How do you turn it into something bigger, or do you want to turn it into something bigger?
Um, Great question, because I am in talks with a couple people to make it bigger. And my biggest thing, I'm never going to lose my why and my vision of growing the game and helping players and parents and coaches. But there's just so many ideas and things I want to do. I can't do it myself, especially with two young girls. And there's just so many ideas. I need extra help, but I want to do this the right way to where it's true to MegRem softball. So
Absolutely.
there's a couple things in the works that might work out, might not, but I'm getting that wheel turning because I see a need for it. And I feel like right now I've got really good momentum and I want to keep it up. And so I'm going to take advantage of that and hopefully set this up to where we're growing even bigger.
Well, good. And look, I volunteer. If you need an ambassador for you up here, say the word. I'm serious. I think what you're doing is amazing,
Thank you.
and I truly I am a firm believer. My mom, who just passed away in November, but she used to tell me I never had to worry about you because you were either on a baseball field, a football field, or playing basketball at a friend's house. So
Yep.
sports keeps a lot of people out of trouble, and I'm a firm believer in that. And so the question I was going to ask you is, because we were going to talk some top 10 softball, y'all, but Megan didn't even keeping up with that. So we'll let her slide on that. But
I'm
tell
gonna
me
blame my girls.
tell me about you're talking to the App State coach tomorrow. So hopefully you know a little bit something about App State. Let's hope. So what do they look like, and what do you think? Where do you see the App State going? And and we'll let you end again. We'll end after that on plug everything away you want to plug, and then we'll end after that.
Yeah. So App has a new coach. She's going into her second year. Coach Way is the second year. They are in the not SoCon. They're in the Sun Belt, which is
Sunbelt now, yes.
really hard conference. And last year they did a fantastic job. From when she came in to their next season, she has turned it around. And I haven't really talked to her, so I'm excited to talk to her about all of that, just how she has turned around the culture so fast. Because App, we hurt for a while. We were not where we needed to be as a team. And so, yeah, she came in, they got a brand new facility. This is the first year that they're going to be in that facility, brand new field. So they have everything to set them up to be successful. And I think I don't know what their ranks or where they are preseason in the Sun Belt, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be high. And if not, I love that. I love the underdog.
Right, absolutely. And I looked at y'all's website. Y'all's field looks amazing. Absolutely. It does. It looks really good.
Kind of near the baseball field.
Right. I do have one more question, because I wanted to ask you this with MegRem Sports. Some of your girls that you do, have you, I'm sure you have, and I'd love to know this, because this actually sells, in my opinion, and I know that's not what it's about, but how many girls do you think you've put in D1 softball that or how many coaches have you spoken with, have spoke to you about a kid? Has that happened for you?
No, honestly, no. I've had maybe a handful of coaches, not the D1 level, but a handful of college coaches. But that's a great question. I don't know, and I was doing lessons full time. I stopped that in 2022 when I moved to Florida. So, and I'll keep up with those girls on Instagram now, because those girls are almost graduating college. But yeah, right now too, and this is a question I get a lot. It's like, why don't you have clinics for 16 to 18-year-olds? And one, I would love to, but I have just found, especially when traveling, I want to maximize my time, and the sweet spot of for the age is about 8 to 12. So I'll do clinics 8 to 14. I just have not had the best demand with clinics for the older girls. And that's not to say girls they don't sign up. It's just the demand is way higher for the younger girls. So I do a bunch of content for older girls. It could be any age, but I would say I gear more towards the youth kids.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Got you. All right. Well, I truly mean this. If anything's going on here in the Pacific Northwest and you need some eyes out here, you have my email. Reach out. Be more than happy to help you out. And now it's your turn. You know what? Plug away on MegRem Softball. Let's go. We are
Sure.
about 45 minutes, and I know you're on your time schedule. Let's let you do your thing.
Yeah. So you can find me. The name's the same for all of them: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, YouTube. It's MegRem Softball. If you would like to follow my new venture that I have not really announced what it is yet, it's called Rem Pro Sports. I'll probably be posting a couple of things about what it is here soon once I get, final things in place. And then that will be on Instagram and Facebook.
Well, when you come out, full details with Rem Pro Sports, I invite you to please come on this program and tell
Of
us all about
course.
it, because it would be amazing. And, Megan, thank you so much for coming on, because this is a Veteran Sports Voice podcast, and it's myself and normally Ian McCants. I'm a dual service veteran, both in the Army and Navy, and Ian was in the Navy. We served together in the Navy, and you know what? And I tell people, you're welcome, but I tell people all the time, it was my honor to serve something greater than myself. And that's why I love sports, because when you have a true team, they're serving each other, not themselves. So that's why I love this. And so with that being said, guys, to our veterans out there, you know what, people, and Megan, I'm sure you probably know a veteran or two out there. Check on them. You know what? Make sure they're okay, especially the ones that say, hey, I'm okay. Check on them. Make sure our Gold Star family members, the ones that lost members that died in the line of service, that's a sacrifice we can never honor. And to our active duty veterans, thank you so much for standing on that wall and taking and guarding our interest and protecting us so we can sleep peacefully at night and do things such as what I'm doing, this podcast and MegRem Softball. We appreciate you guys. And Megan, again, thank you so much. And you know what? I mean this. You're a friend of this podcast. Anytime you want to come on and throw your message out, you have my email. Just let us know. And we sure appreciate you coming on.
Yes, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good one, guys.